The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast are those of the host/guest and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any of BXR entities and those they represent.
Good evening. Good evening. It is Friday, October 21st. We are live on Be Exposed Radio. This is Skylyne Radio Show. I'm your host, Skylyne Mark. Unfortunately, our co-host Marie Starr is not available tonight. She should be back large and in charge next week. But until then, we're ready for a good show. We got a native Chicagoan, my hometown, our special guest tonight. Her name is Sha'Meca Latai Oliver. I hope I got that right because I don't want no smoke. She's known as the Root Coach. We're going to talk to her about everything that she's got going on. She's got, what'd she say? She's got some big things in the works. I don't remember exactly what she said and how she worded it, but we got a lot to talk about. So we're just gonna dive on in. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you our special guest tonight, Miss Sha'Meca.
What's up? With you, Sha'Meca Latai. Mark, thank you so very much for having me on tonight. I'm super excited. We're gonna keep the show live. We're gonna keep it pumping. We're gonna keep it going. We're gonna drop some dimes. We're gonna drop some things and just have a good time on tonight. Shout out to your co-host who's not able to be here tonight. So I'm gonna make sure I represent her very well at the same time.
I expect nothing less. So my first question, you know what it's gonna be. What brought you to the DMV?
Listen, it was God, like literally, because I'm a native of Chicago, grew up on the south side of Chicago. Whoop whoop. And honest, I was literally at a movie shoot for my husband. And I was doing a movie shoot in Wisconsin. Springfield, Illinois, and he was doing one in Indiana. And he called me and told me that he just did an interview. He got hired for this job. He was like, I don't even want to go. He was like, I don't know nothing about Maryland. I'm like, what? But we were already like looking for a home. We were already, just pretty much like sightseeing, dreaming, looking at places that we wanted to do, wanted to go and things that we wanted to do. He ended up getting this job offer that really fit in with his dreams. And I'm like, let's go. Let's just go. And so just from there, we just really trust God. We moved here in less than 30 days. Actually, in 2 weeks, we came to look for a house. They brought us in to look what was going on at the job that brought us out here. We were just like, okay, we had pretty much already accepted a position even before we saw anything. And then 2 weeks later, my husband came out here, started working, and a week later, I was out here with our kids. My mom came, and it was just that. It's been 8 years now since we've been here in Maryland. So it pretty much was like, go. I'm the type of individual who's like, I don't like going backwards, So I'm like, let's go forward. Let's see what forward has for us. Right. The rest has been pretty much history now.
Okay. White Sox fan or Cubs fan?
I'm both. Literally, I'm both.
Yeah. Everyone's like, how are you both? And I'm like, it's two different leagues with two different set of rules.
Listen, when we were growing up, I still have it. Now, if I knew you were going to mention the White Sox and the Cubs, I would have went to my son's closet who wears my Cubs raincoat that I had when I was a little girl. Check this out. Literally, I have it up and it's in like really, really good condition. And my auntie worked for the ball stadium. She worked for the Cubs, but we also had tickets for the White Sox. So while she was at work, my cousin and I, family or whatever, we would go to work with her and just sit in the stands and watch the games. And after the games, we would go like to the nearest hubs with my aunt, play some video games on, like Atari or like Mortal Kombat, whatever it was.
Right.
It was indoor baseball that went on. So we were like 4 participants in the Cubs and the White Sox, And so she worked for the Cubs more than she did for the White Sox, but we had tickets for both. So I'm a fan of both, right? Honestly, I wasn't into baseball, not whatsoever. It was like too slow, too boring. But what I was into was like community. I was into having fun, being out there and enjoying it, just being in the stands.
Right. Who's your favorite player?
Favorite player?
Of all time, favorite player.
Favorite player of all times? I don't have one. Let's just go with Jackie Robinson. He doesn't even play.
Okay. I didn't mean like that, but right. Okay. We can go there.
No, my favorite player. Like sports?
I mean, if we're going sports, then there ain't none because you got like 4 or 5 GOATs in our lifetime.
Man, I don't have no favorites. I just love the game. But honestly, because I'm from Chicago, when it comes to sports, it was like the Bulls was our heart. Like hands down, the Bulls was like everything. We had on Bulls paraphernalia. We always watched everybody. Like that's what I grew up on. Get opportunities sometimes. Very, very seldomly. We went to more baseball games than basketball games. But go to the basketball games, you just loved it. We watched it. We had family night over a friend's house. It was life. It was life. Yeah. Now listen, the Bears game, I had a chance to sit there when the Fridge and everybody was playing many years ago. So I took my grandfather, who is now deceased, and so I hold a title in my family, right, for taking the only person. And I was a little girl and I had won some tickets off the radio. I was the only person in my family to ever take my grandfather to a football game. And it was the only football game he ever went to in his life. So I'm like the champ in the family when it comes to that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. My favorite player is actually a hometown boy for Maryland.
Oh.
His last stint with the White Sox, he was actually the ambassador of the White Sox. His name is Harold Baines.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I've never got the chance to meet him yet, knock on wood, but I met his sister opening day. I don't remember what year, but at the end of the day, the year he got inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, I met her that opening day for the Orioles downtown Baltimore. And we hung out the whole day, back and forth, talking, chopping it up, breaking bread. And we exchanged information. And she said, when I get the details and the tickets, I'll contact you. Somewhere, somehow, my phone was stolen. Lost contact information for never seen, never heard, don't know how to get in contact with her, nothing. And that's been, I don't know, 3-4 years. So,
yeah. But you know what?
I got the pictures, so pictures are better than nothing.
Yeah, but it's nothing like meeting somebody who knows somebody that you want to know. It feels like you kind of met the person that you admire.
One family member. I met one family member, so I'm almost in the door. I'm almost there.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
you're the root coach.
Yeah.
Explain that. What
You
what
know,
what what does that entail?
the root coach. Yes. So the root is definitely something that is self-entitled. I couldn't wait for nobody to like define who I was and define what I did very, very well and how I changed people's lives. And so once I figured out who I was and what I did, and then I self-acclaimed who I was, and it's my title, and how I just began to coach and mentor and support women and in their business and in their personal life. So here's the thing. It started out with me trying to figure out how to monetize my gifts, trying to figure out how to really get my business going to define who I was and what I was good at. So I started to do some research. I asked some people, like, who do you think that I am? And I found the commonalities between a lot of people who I text, who I might have emailed, who I talked to. And I was like, man, I help people to get to the root of their issues, to help them to heal and be successful mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and financially. And one of the things that I do is that I've always done it for God's glory. And so I'm like, wow, people would in the text messages and in the conversations, because I did, my market research, for myself. And they were just like, you just really helped me to get out of my rut. Like you helped me to get to those deep places that I wasn't able to identify myself,
Right.
and so with that, I was like, that's who I am. I help people get to the root. And it really started off before, I started my business as being known as the root coach, and in my business, Building the Best You, which is a coaching and consulting firm. I remember it started off just on my couch. It started off on my couch speaking to my family and friends and older people. I love my elders. Like I would sit and I would talk to them and like, oh, you got a wise soul, like I'm like, what does that mean? I was 16 years old at the time, but I realized that that's something that I was good at. I realized that that was the transformational moments for me, and that I help other people to transform their lives, but not out of myself, but really out of the power of God. So that's where it came from. And so one day I was just like, I'm gonna coach. I'm gonna coach my first person. I'm about to make money off of this. I'm about to build a company because you need money to fund your company.
That's
But what
right.
could I be so good at that's gonna help transform lives? And I'm like, hey, I just looked in the mirror. I started practicing. And I was like, this is who you are. Get comfortable with it. I'm like, hey, my name is Sha'Meca Latai. I am known as the root coach. I help you to get to the root of your issues so that you can be healed and successful mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and financially for God's glory. You want to coach with me? So that's literally where it came from. And I didn't get clients in the beginning either. That's one of the things that I didn't get. But I kept showing up for myself. And the one thing that I didn't do, even though I didn't get clients, because honestly, those who are attracted to me are not those who go to a counselor, go to a coach, or even go to a therapist. Those are the type of people who they run away from. So my route into getting to coaching and helping women build themselves, it was pretty tough in the beginning, but I was just like, I know I'm good at it. Now they will be in my Facebook or my Instagram, like, can you help with this? Can I pick your brain? And I was like, I can't let nobody pick my brain for free. So I did a few things, got my first client, and it was just like, yeah, I need one person to give this testimony from a business point of view, but also from the place of me empowering them from their pain.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
What are the advantages and disadvantages of doing all that?
Um, let's put it like this, just as far as entrepreneurship anyway, there's advantages and disadvantages because the advantage is that you get to meet people who you've never met before, but you get to be the results are that you were an answered prayer for them, or a prayer that they didn't even know to pray. Like it's crazy. And it's just like, or I remind women, like, remember that place in your pain that you saw your freedom, but you couldn't get there. I'm going to help you get there. And so the part that's the advantage is that when I get the results from my work, from what I put into it, when I get the results that lines up with my mission and my vision, that's the advantage. That's the reason why you keep going, even when the disadvantages could be at play. The disadvantage is pretty much like you get a client and the client don't put in the work for their own growth. First of all, I'm like, I always tell them, let me tell you this. I'm a coach, so I'm in this because I can want it as bad as you. I can want your happiness and your joy as bad as you because I know I walked in those shoes and I know what it takes to really build yourself. It ain't pretty, it ain't glamorous. It's crying, screaming, and dealing with the fears face to face. And because healing hurts. Healing does not feel good. It's not, I found out who I am. No, I crawled, screamed, and cried to figure out and understand who I am and understand what this thing did to me. And so the disadvantage is that when the person shows up, like, yes, I want the help, and yes, I want this, but then they don't complete the coaching, and that's what we have to realize, that some people are in it for the one time, thinking that this one time conversation, this one time coaching is they're going to take their information. So they come in with already ulterior motives that I know my coaching is this, but I am not going to commit to it. Sha'Meca, or now Dr. Sha'Meca, is, when I listen to her on Facebook or Instagram, man, I feel so good. But you get that feeling good, but you're going back to the same place that you came from. You cannot break cycles that way. Cycles are broken when you work the cycle. Like, literally, you got to work it. And so that's the part that's hurting for me, because I tell my clients, like, I need results. I need results. I don't need you to play with me. If you playing with me, go to somebody else who's gonna play with you. Because I'm gonna give you this is and that. And even in my contract, I'm like, I'm not gonna work as hard as you're gonna work on yourself. I'm not. And so I have clients who quit alone. I put realistic things in my contracts. When I talk to them, I don't talk to them as a friend. Even if they come to me, I have friends who I've coached, and I coach them as a coach, not a friend. But then when the coaching session is over, I'm like, hey, girl, did you do this? I'm not bringing up what they went through or anything like that. We're going to be friends. So I learned to separate the two, and be that person that they need me to be.
Which brings me to the next round. Building the best you. There's so many questions you can ask, but that's self-explanatory. Building the best you, man, woman, anybody. What
Is it like, what does that mean? Like, building the best you? Like, what does that mean?
Or
how can somebody build the best
you? What made you choose that title?
It's very important that we know how to hone in and focus on who we are in the earth realm. I believe that we all have purpose. We do so well on building other people and being there for other people, but are we building ourselves? Are we good enough to ourselves in order to be good enough for everybody else? Building the best you, like, kind of taking off of what everybody feels that you should do and who you should be, and build the best person that you can be. Like, literally put in the work, really activate the faith, and do the necessary things that's going to, for you to feel good about yourself, to do the necessary work that God needs for you to be, like the best you that you were called to be. And that's discovery all the time. But you put the tools and the practices and the sacrifice for yourself to build not the perfect person, but build the best person. And that's something that happens over and over again. So once you've already conquered one level, you're like, man, I'm good here. You don't allow yourself to stay at the level of greatness. You think that hit this. This is the epitome of yourself. I learned, like, it's always something to learn. It's always something to get better at. Say, for instance, like for me being a mom, right? For me being a mom, I'm like, when I came in there, I'm like, oh, parenting is so easy. I don't know what these people are talking about. I had one baby, then I got two, and I'm like, all right, I'm feeling a little something, and I had to realize, like, I'm giving my husband, my children, all of me, but when did I give all of me to myself? When did I take off that? So I had to make up at this level in my life, building the best me now so that I won't go into depression. I won't feel like I'm stagnant. I won't feel like I'm stuck. How do I build the best me? How do I build these better parts of me? How do I get greater than who I am today? So I had to tell myself, like, take your head off. Like, this is mommy head time. This is your wife head time. This is job time. But take that head off and get to know who you are. Get to know to pour into yourself. And then once I learned to do that, I'm like, oh, there's a different level. I got to build the best me. What is going to keep me stress-free? What is going to keep me as not only a good servant to others, a good servant to myself, but a good, like a Samaritan in the earth, just around people. What are my dreams? Am I focusing on these things? Because those things will always keep me in alignment with purpose. I'm building the best me so that I can be even a better person for everybody else, to be an example. So it has a lot of like varieties to it, but it's still rooted in one place. It's a lot of things that we have to do to build the best us, to not be a carbon copy of somebody else, to not desire so much of other people or from other people and trying to fulfill everybody's needs, and then we lose out on building the best us. And so that's what building the best you is. And it's for me, when I do my coaching and consulting in my business, it's in various aspects. Spiritually, it's 5 different elements: spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, and financially. How can I build a better me financially? Like, if I know I'm slacking on some things in my finances, I need to figure out how to get better. Either I need to save some, either I need to invest more, either I need to, hold back on some things, so that I can pour into myself right financially. If I see myself going into debt, if I see like, hold up, I got to build myself a better, the best part of me financially so that I can see myself thriving in this area. The same thing spiritually. If I know I haven't been praying and I'm like, man, like my attitude is jacked up for something, I'm hurt, I'm bothered, I'm emotionally all over the place. I'm like, slow up, something is happening. You're not pouring into yourself the right way spiritually, and emotionally too. And I'm like, what is it that's hurting you? So it's always like a self-check-in. Right. Can you check in with yourself and figure out where you at and build the best parts of you? And once you get better, you keep building.
You're right.
Yeah. Interesting. Let me ask you a question. So how does Mark like build the best him? Like, or do you do that? Like, what's some of the things you've done?
Well, I guess you can say I'm in the process of rebuilding myself.
Yeah.
COVID did a lot of negative things to anything and everything. Small businesses, people, people's thought process, people's attitude, people's patience. Well, first and foremost, people's patience is shot. If there was never a thing called road rage, there is now. But with there being road rage, I don't know what you call this mess out here now, because people are 10 times worse than they've ever been. But yeah, building the best me. I'm just trying to get back to where I was before COVID came. This is the third go around with the radio show. I don't see it going nowhere this time unless I choose to. Um, uh, Trying to get the foundation back to where it once was. Um, it's baby steps. We try to jump in there and do it, every week. And I think we kind of bit off more than we could actually chew. Um, but it's a process, trying to build a street team of um loyal people that have the same mindset. These are people, not animals. Um, people have the wrong idea when it comes to homeless. Oh, they're homeless because they made bad choices in life. True and false. Oh, they're homeless because they got an alcohol problem. They got a dope problem. Okay, true and false. But there's a thing called COVID-19 that came and ruled the earth. And in the process, in this country alone, over 10 million people became homeless. So I ask you, coach, was that by bad choices, drug problems, alcohol problems, or was that a thing called life that happened? So, you know, if you can't work, you can't pay bills. If you can't pay bills, you lose your way of life. So there goes your house. There goes your job. There goes your house because you can't pay bills. There goes your car because you can't pay bills. So now you're stuck. And I think I can honestly speak for a good majority of the people that were affected financially by COVID. I never thought this could happen to me. You know what I mean? Um, it happened to me. You know what I'm saying? So I was homeless for 8 months, living in a hotel, um, working 60, 80 hours a week, killing myself. Didn't have much of a life because it was work, 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 work. And um, I had to do what was in my best interest financially. So I lived as close as I possibly could to my job. I work at a restaurant in Hunt Valley. I hate it, but I like my management team. I like a good majority of my coworkers, the front of the house, the back of the house. I get along with almost everybody. You always got one bad apple in a bunch, but it is what it is, and it's going to be what it's going to be. Um, I'm getting back on track financially, and it feels good. I've been there for, wow, the same amount of time I lived in the hotel is the same amount of time I've been out of the hotel. I've been out of the hotel for 8.5 months. Um, it feels good to have a sense of independence back. Um, I got a place. I don't like where I'm at versus where I was. Um, I like it, but I don't like it. Um, it's convenient. I like the neighborhood. I'm not far from uh, I'm not far from anything. I'm not gonna give any landmarks because I try to be a private person when it comes to um, my home life, my family. So I was ready to put something out there, but I was like, nah, let me not do that because no, that wouldn't, no, that ain't gonna work. So, but yeah, it's baby steps. You got to crawl and learn how to walk again. Um, but the last 8.5 months, it's been interesting. It's been real. It's been a learning process. When I thought I was ready, I contacted my producer and I was like, hey, this, that, whatever, the third. I need to meet with you. And He simply told me, when you're ready, let me know, and I'm ready to go. I'd love to have you back. He opened the door for me. If it was ever shut. Um, I missed the radio. I miss mingling with my co-host and the guests. Um, it's it's different doing Zoom, but it's like he explained to me, doing Zoom. Um, it's easier for you. It's easier for your guests because you really don't even have to leave your house. If you got out of town guests, it's very convenient. If you got guests from overseas, there's no door that's closed to the opportunity. All you need is internet access. So it's got its ups and downs, but if this is what we got to do to make it work, then I'm all for it. Because at the end of the day, I still get to meet new people. I still get to meet more of my hometown people. Shout out to Dr. Sha'Meca. Um, so yeah, I guess my next step, with having a foundation semi kosher, having the radio show semi kosher for the most part. My next step is to get my clothing line back. Um, I don't know when, but hopefully by Christmas, I will be able to send out orders. Um, Me and my business partner were talking about it recently, and I was like, yo, the only way I'm gonna make this happen is if I just jump head first in. So I'm ready, he's ready, and we're gonna make it happen. We're gonna jump in the deep end and see where the deep end takes us. Does it suck us under, or does it eventually shift us to the shallow end? Um, if it doesn't work, I ain't got no one to blame but myself. But you learn from your wrongs. I'm not gonna say your mistakes, because it's not a mistake. The only mistake is not trying. If it doesn't work the first time, lay the cards out, pick them up one by one, and see where it leads you. So I'm proud of myself. A lot of people are proud of me. Um, it feels good. It feels good to not necessarily be back on top where I once was, but it feels good knowing that I'm headed in the right direction, and eventually I will be there. So, but if I need a coach, I know who to turn to.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thankful right now, just for you being just an authentic person from where you have been to what you're going through right now, because a lot of people only tell where they are at, the great part. They never really tell their backstory. They tell a little bit, but it's like when people listen to our stories, they want to know where you've been, because they're at your backstory and not your now you
Right.
know. So I just clap and and celebrate you right now for being like, man, I hit a place that felt like rock bottom for me. One thing I like that Ian Levant has said one time when I listened to her television show, she was talking about she was talking to this manager who was saying that he didn't want his client, this singer, no, she needs to keep singing. She's great. He saw her greatness, but she didn't want to sing anymore. International singer and everything. And then Ian Levant was like, listen, if she let her go, if she said she don't want to do it no more, let her go. Because if she falls, at least she's falling on the rock. Like if she falls on rock bottom, at least she falls on the rock. Like a lot of times we get afraid of falling. Like we get afraid of, but it's like it's at that place where like you gotta know, if you fall down, the Bible says like the foundation is always Christ. So if you fall down, you falling down on the best thing you can fall down on. Like, it's like how people, I'm doing a book anthology right now, you know, through my publishing company. And it's like turning your pain into purpose. Like, it don't feel good when you got to go through the pain. But when you get to the place that you realize who you are and who God called you to be, like, you literally can be like, I'm going to take this. Like, even for myself, I'm going to monetize what I do. And that opened up doors for me because I didn't allow myself to be limited by what I was going through, about what was happening. How can I help somebody else? I think anytime that we put ourselves in a place of serving somebody else and making our life a donation, like the late Lamont McLean has said, like, make your life a donation. Like, if you're not serving somebody in your gift, like, your gift means nothing. Like, it means nothing. And I think we're supposed to serve. So anytime you build, that's what businesses are made off of, like serving people. Like, serve, it's going to open up doors. But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. You got to get back up. Here's the thing. You got to be consistent. You got to show up, like I said even earlier, when ain't nobody showing up. Like, you didn't get in this for this person you got it for this person to buy this and do this and make you a millionaire. You got in this for your hard work. And so hard work takes hard work. It takes sometimes a whole year getting back on your feet, but you learn. Like, the thing that felt like is breaking you is really building you. You know, like, it's building you. And one time I remember petitioning God, riding down 210 in Maryland, over there about Fort Washington. And my husband is a carpenter by trade. So I'm thinking he's ignoring me, like some women say their husbands do when they're talking to them. So I'm like, babe, I was just praying and was just like asking God, like, man, why it hurts so much? So of course, people around you can be in a totally different world than you. You could be sad and they could be happy, right? But y'all sitting there together. So I'm in a whole different emotional state from my husband. And I felt like he was ignoring me. And he was looking to the side because he's a carpenter by trade. And he was just like, they're building a bridge over there. So I'm just petitioning my heart to God, like, why is it hurt so bad? Why does it hurt so bad? And my husband, like, they're building a bridge over there. He was like, he knows what it means to build a bridge. And he hates going over bridges. He had to build them. He knows how unsafe bridges are. He knows, he was just like, he hated it in construction. You know, he had to be 20 stories high, nailing nails into the walls and everything. He was like, I do not like going over bridges, because he knows what's suspending them. Like, he knows what it looks like. He knows how they're building them. He knows how dangerous they can be, even though we go over it. So all of a sudden, what dropped in my spirit, what the Lord placed in my spirit from that moment, which I thought my husband was ignoring me, it was like, I'm building a bridge in you. Like, it hurts so bad because I'm building something in you that most people don't want to build, but only want to go over. Wow. Like, you need this. Like, you need this right here. That's building the best you. When you realize that sometimes you got to go through some hell and you got to go through some pain in order to be like, I understand. And that's what keeps me doing what I'm doing, because I know most people would quit if they had to build a bridge. Most people would quit because they know if they fall, sometimes they're falling on concrete, or sometimes they falling in water and they don't even know how to drown. But I realized that I wasn't building this bridge for myself, but I was building this bridge. I'm building this bridge for God's glory. So if I fall in water and it feels like I'm drowning, I know who's going to rescue me. Like, literally, it don't feel like it all the time, but I'm like, God, I know you got me. I know you got me. Like, I try not to let my mind, go into the place of doubt. Doubt comes up sometimes, and doubt is actually literally normal. It's normal. It's like, yeah, but the Bible tells us to pray about everything and worry about nothing. Why? Because those trials gonna come. They gonna come. We don't get to pick our trials. I wish, it'd be nice if I could pick my trial. But I'm like, man, if I could have picked your trial, I would have passed that trial. Because you can see it like that, because you're like, I kind of already been through it. I kind of know it. I know how to navigate through it. I know God gonna come through. And like somebody else might say for me, like, girl, you have no idea. Like, you in a really good place. Because sometimes I don't even, sometimes I haven't always appreciated my blessings, And so I'm like, that's building the best you, though. Building the best you is not like, I'm building myself today. I'm working on my attitude. I'm working on my life. Life hit hard. But it's like, I'm building in the midst of this breakdown. you know, and I'm like, yeah, God, I know you're gonna come through. So like when you were talking about like COVID, like, yeah, I get it. We all like was transitioning from a place of like, what do I do now? But when you choose to keep going in the transition, when you choose to keep figuring out in the transition, that's building the best you. Like that's a great place to be. Some people quit, some people let go. You know, there was this guy from CNN, and he got COVID. His family didn't get COVID, so he stayed in the basement the whole time. I don't remember his name, but he was all on Instagram and everything. Now he's just starting his own show. However, he was just like, listen, I got COVID. I'm going to take y'all through the process. He was like, this thing hurt. He said, but the one thing that he realized about having COVID was that you can't give into it. Like you can't sit still. He was like, it hurt even when I breathe. But his doctor was telling, because nobody wanted to be around him, but CNN was still recording him from his house. And he was just like, the one thing I'm going to tell you, your lungs feel terrible, but still breathe deep. It's going to hurt when you breathe deep, but keep breathing it. He was pretty much like, I'm going to let y'all see this thing. It either's going to kill me like it did a lot of people, or I'm going to survive through what's trying to kill me. So I just commend you just another time, Mark, for being like, listen, you know what? I'm gonna keep going. That thing fell off for a little bit, but I'm gonna do the work to keep this because it's purpose behind it. It's purpose behind this radio show. Like it's purpose behind it. And that's what keeps us going. Purpose.
That's right. So going through your bio, you went on tour. You went on a 36 city tour.
Yeah.
Unlike most people, unless you're a music artist, you didn't go through the United States with 36 cities.
No.
You went on 36 cities in Europe.
Yes.
Okay, inquiring minds want to know anything and everything. How did that come up? How did that go from one city to two cities to what? 36 cities.
Let me tell you, that thing was work. It was work. It was work.
God is good.
Not even just 36 cities, but the preparation months before we actually, you know, got an opportunity to get contracted to go on tour. And I literally got the opportunity just by default. You know, they were putting together a group. Actually, it was a gospel singing tour. So I sing as well. I'm into the performing arts. I love performing arts, right? And so yeah, so we got contracted in by this huge agency. We had my billboards everywhere, and all of this was before social media and Facebook like even existed. Like this was before I can be like, I'm touring in Czechoslovakia right now. I'm in Croatia right now. I'm in Italy. I'm in I'm in Germany right now. Like the 36 city tour was like huge. Everywhere we went, our pictures was on like billboards. Everything that you can imagine that you see international artists in America, and you see them like traveling. That was me, traveling, changing costumes, changing of hair, literally on the tour bus, flying from one country to the next, like traveling. I forgot where we started off at, but then we had to fly out to Amsterdam, which was like maybe a 2-hour flight. If you drove, it was like forever. Sometimes we were on the tour bus. We had a guy, we had a manager, you know, who was with us. We were in this van with all our like equipment and singing and like everything, but it wasn't all glamorous. Like literally, like it's something that I wanted to do because I never wanted to be a pastor. I never wanted to be a minister. Like that wasn't my dream. My dream was to be on stage and performing, right? So I've done off Broadway. I've done several times. I've been to New York, like acting and singing. I did tours. I do tour with African and Caribbean dance troupe. Did that for 7 years. We traveled with that. And so being on this tour was like, yes, this is life. I love it. I remember even dancing for international artists and even behind the scenes teaching artists and choreography, you know, their choreographer and everything. So my opportunity for being on this tour, it wasn't as pretty. And you would think that because it was a gospel tour, that it would have been oh, we're praying today, oh, it's glorious. It's like, no, baby. It was people like getting high on a trip, seeing prostitutes, like, because, you know, Amsterdam, they had, prostitution was open, you know. I don't know if it is now, but back then it was legal. It wasn't illegal in Amsterdam, nor was prostitution. It was a thing. So we had people that were on tour who finagled, you know, in that. We're on a gospel tour. And then while we're traveling, I had some of my, really one of them, but it was still like division on the tour. We were in unison when we were on the stage, but out off the stage, it wasn't the same. Like, people were like, you know, like they're mad at you or they're turning. I'm like, oh, like this isn't what I signed up for. And then just the things that I would see behind the scene, like, this ain't really, the people are in it for the money. I'm talking about money. They're in it for the money, not for changing people's lives. But on the other side, those who were in front of us some of them didn't even understand English, but we'll sing and they'll be crying. So I saw the breaking, but I also saw the building that was happening. I saw the life changing, but then I also saw the loss that was happening too. So one day we were like in this, we were in cathedrals and everything. One day we were in this court, building, court area, and on cobblestone, because most of the streets out there in Europe are like cobblestone. We're on these cobblestone streets, and this one, we just finished singing, and we're outside about to sign autographs and everything. And he comes up and he was like, Tupac is my God. Tupac is my God. And at that moment, I broke, because I realized a lot of times that people in different countries don't get to see what we see and how we live. You know, they get to see only what's shown to them on television. So while we're there, I'm thinking we're changing lives because of the power of God. But really, they still already have their own interpretation, you know. But when I heard that, that's when an awakening came from me. And I pulled myself to the side without isolating myself, you know, pulled myself to the side with my thoughts. And I was like, God, they don't know you.
Right.
And I made my mind up at that moment. Like, I was like, I don't want to do this no more. Because the opportunities were there, but then my desire shift. I was like, I want the world to know about you, not know about me. So at that moment, I gave all my dreams over, everything that I wanted to be at that moment. And I've had to do that like a couple of times in my life. I didn't even realize I did it until like really recently. And at that moment, I was like, no, I got to do. And I didn't know what that was going to be like. My grandmother can tell this story better than me. But I didn't know what that was going to be like. I didn't even know I told the story like that. But once I came home from that tour, I was like, I can't do all this performance like this no more. But here's the crazy thing. How you can have one desire and you can be so good at what you do. Like, I'm good at performing. I'm good at speaking. I've taken acting classes, modeling classes. I took breathing classes. I took voice classes. I know how to like use a little bit of the air in my body. Like, I got taught all these things very, very young, 15 years old, 14, 13 years old, 10 years old. Like, I've been in a lot of different trainings. And then, so I now, with like ministry and coaching, I take everything I learned and I apply it, which gives me an advantage, but not so much an advantage trying to be in the forefront. Just when I get the opportunity to have one-on-ones with people, when I get the opportunity to be in their presence, it's always an honor, you know, for me. Because I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna pour out everything that I've learned since I was a little girl to see a life-changing moment. So that you can know that celebrities and nothing else is your God, but God is true to be who he is, and it's life-changing at that point. And so it's crazy because all I wanted to do was like dance, sing. It makes me feel good. But I realized it had to shift. It's so funny that when we were going through Croatia, it was called no man's land. There was no law. So we're literally driving through Croatia. When I tell you the spirits were heavy, it was heaviness, it was darkness, like you could feel it in that place. It was the most scariest 10 hours we drove through because from the war that they had 10 years prior to that.
Right.
No, it was like 2.5 hours, but 10 years prior to that, it was still grenades that was possibly on the ground that never blew up. So the road that we were on was so narrow, and we could have lost our life on that road just being on tour. When I tell you, like, to make it through there, now we didn't have to drive back. We actually flew to somewhere else. But when I'm telling you, like, it ain't all glitz and glam. It's not. Like, when you have to travel like that all the time, every day, all day, we will sing at 11, 12 a.m., 1 a.m. in the morning, and then have to go and pack and get back on the road to be somewhere in the morning. Like, it was work. But so it was tough. And to then have to do a 36 city tour in 30 days.
Huh?
A 36 city tour in 30 days.
Wow.
And then not have a strong relationship with those who you are on tour with. That right there is like, it was hurting. And here's the thing, not only was the relationships kind of weak during that time, when I called home to friends who I thought were praying for me, who I thought were, they like, you ain't making us happy, so we gonna put you on suspicion. We gonna like not care about you right now. I'm like, I'm calling home for help, like so the thing is like all of those things taught me that even when you're breaking, you're still building. Like, even when people walk away, you got to make sure you don't walk away from yourself. You have to find yourself like in the midst of people, not covering you. And so I look at that and I'm like, yeah, but go after purpose. Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to keep lasting.
That's right.
Yeah.
Talk is cheap. People can talk it all they want. But it's like, how do you support me when you don't do nothing? How do you support me when you don't volunteer? You don't donate. You say you're going to do this, but you ain't done diddly. How do you support me? So I've mentioned it a few times over the years. I just got to stop mentioning it and just start doing it. Like, I was supposed to come home. I was supposed to go back home back in June 30th. I was supposed to fly out on the first thing smoking at a BWI. Had a job lined up. Everyone's like, what you gonna do with the radio show? What you mean? Radio show's going with me. It's called Internet. My producer knew what was going on. I think he asked me and I said, I want to keep doing it. I'm just in a different city. No biggie. What you gonna do with the foundation? I'm gonna feed my people in my city. Well, what about Baltimore? There's organizations in Baltimore that can keep doing what they're doing. Man, that's messed up. How you gonna say it's messed up when you don't even come out? You don't even support the mission, the cause, nothing. So how is it messed up? But the crazy thing is, and I know you see this all the time, with church, people will make a million reasons why they can't go to church. Oh, I'm busy. I gotta work. All right, time you get off. Oh, this time. Oh, that same time I get out of church, maybe we can link up. I'll call you then. And you call him, man, I'm still in the bed.
Mhm.
Thought you had to go to work. So now you lied to me. Now you just showed your true colors because your word don't mean nothing. As a person, man or woman, all you got is your word. You break that, I gotta look at you differently.
Yeah, but here's the thing that I learned, Mark, and I think that it kind of helps me out, that I learned not to even keep people like accountable, like, or responsible for doing things or for showing up even for me. Cause I'm like, they don't even show up for themselves. So how can, I was like, I'm not even gonna have this great expectation for you to even know how to do
Right.
things. You don't even know how to do it for yourself. I believe that we're supposed to keep people on levels. Like, yeah, you're a friend, but you're at this level of being a friend. There are certain conversations I can't have with you. There are certain things you can't know about me because you can't, some people cannot handle our, they can't handle our victories, nor can they handle our pain. Some
That's
people,
right.
they're not going to know how to pray for me. And some people, they're not going to know how to celebrate with me.
Mm.
So I try to learn by building the best me how to do both of those things for myself. Even as being a married woman, like I'm hitting 12 years in like 2 days from now. So even with, my husband, we have a very good relationship. We're very tight. We're like, we could barely have, at these last 12 years, we can count on our hands how many arguments we had. And even if they were like real arguments. But here's the thing, I realized, like I said, when I was in the car, that we were in two different emotional states. He's looking at that he don't like, bridges. And I'm like, I'm all in it like, oh, why I'm this and that. We in two different states. And I'm just like, I can be explaining this to him, but he doesn't have to even understand it. Like my husband, just let's be honest, I'm gonna be honest, because a lot of marriages, like they get upset about this. They're just like, my husband don't support my dream. He doesn't do this and he doesn't do that. I get it. And I feel the feeling of it. I get it. But here I am with an amazing man who loves God, and and all this. He comes like when we have a media production comes. He comes, he does the media production. But when it's time to go, this was like few years ago. When it's time to go, he like, I gotta go. He's rushing, and I'm like, I gotta talk. I gotta do this. And he had to be honest. And I told him, I said, I already know this. One of the things he came to me years later without me even saying it, he was like, I didn't get your dream. Like I was there, I did certain things, but I never understood it. So he didn't give me, he was there to give the help that he just knew to give, but he wasn't fully hard into it. And people don't get fully hard into your thing. Now here it is. This is a man who's a provider. This is a man who like, listen, I love you. I love you. But when people can't see their own purpose in your purpose, they cannot and will not support you until they see how they fit into the picture. But they only fit into the picture when they do the necessary work within themselves to really say, I get it now. Because they don't get it until they get themselves, until they align themselves with purpose. So when I see people, I'm like, he don't know his own purpose. And some people are just supposed to be that friend that be like, dude, what's up? What's going on? You want to kick it now? I'm still in bed. You like, dude, you need to get out of bed. And some people wait till it's too late where they have not even built up. They don't even see your character. They don't even see how hard you hustling. They blind to it. And then once you make it, you like, no, that's why I gotta choose somebody. I can't go to you. You my guy. We grew up, but I gotta choose somebody else because you have not qualified yourself. You have not put in the work that's necessary for me to use you. That's why you see people outsource when you were supposed to be in the ground with me. So I gotta leave you behind because you chose to sleep when I was woke. That's the thing right there. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
You chose to sleep when I was woke. I can't, I'm sorry. I can't. And my sorry is not I'm hurt. My sorry is like, dude, I'm just sorry you didn't put in the work you needed to put in. And keep it moving and trust, believe that the people that's necessary to connect with you will only come. You only want people to come when you're ready to, though. Like if you're sitting and doubting yourself, you don't need people to come in during that time. You need people to come in when you did the work to build the best you too, because you'll bleed on them.
That's
and
right.
so I realized that like we'll bleed on people because we're bleeding. And that's a dangerous place to be. It's better to be by yourself and grind and have people not understand and allow God to get people ready as he's getting you ready. Because that's
right.
when growth can really happen. So yeah, some people like, it's like really looking at the fine details that like, I get you. That's why you sitting there like, okay, but I'm gonna keep going. God, you trust me? I trust you. Let's ride. Let's go. What you doing in me today? What you doing in me today? How you working it? How can I please you today? Yeah.
You're right. I've come to realize that some people that I've questioned, I've looked at the big picture, and I was like, they may not do this, and this, but they do this and this. So I take them out of that I can't think of the word. It's like if I ever doubted you, now I don't, because you're doing undercover things that's gonna benefit. You know what I'm saying? So, but I've looked at a handful of people in the past and the present, and as I move into the future, I know to shy away from you, because unless it benefits you, you can't be bothered. And I'm the type of person, I tell people, I'm not from here. I walk different. I move different. Why don't you do this? Because I'm not from here. That's what y'all do out here. We don't do that out in the Midwest. It ain't a Chicago thing. It ain't a St. Louis thing. It ain't a Milwaukee thing. It's a Midwest thing. Midwest people are different than the East Coast people. And the East Coast people, a lot of them understand, but a lot of them don't. So, I try to take it in stride. I try not to let anything get me down. But I'm human. I get irritated, I get aggravated, I get annoyed, I get irked, I get pissed. And then I start to question when it comes to what I'm doing, where do you fall in line with your loyalty? Because you've already proved your word don't mean nothing. So at the end of the day, all I can do is what? Pray. And I probably don't do enough of it, but at least I do something. You know what I mean? I pray for those that are in my circle. I pray for those that are out of my circle. I pray for people I don't know. Look, you're a special type of person. I couldn't do what you do. I'll pray for you though. And I mean that. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, God is fabulous. And without God, none of us got nothing. And that's just real life talk. But I love what you do. I love learning more about what you do in and out of church. If I ever have a question about this or that when it comes to entertainment, I know who to go to, the Root Coach. Because you got a whole lot of answers over there that I might have questions for. So, you got any questions for me? Because I think I'm gonna die.
I definitely would say, like, where do you see your radio show going? Like, where do you see Skylyne going? Like, what's the ultimate like goal for it?
we were talking about this literally. I don't remember if it was yesterday or earlier this week, maybe even late last week. But I had made the comment. I said, "Joe, so I got this radio show, this podcast," and my partner was like, "Yeah," and I said, "What if?" He said, "Uh-oh, you've been thinking." I said, "Yeah, you gotta think before you gotta think and get your thoughts together." Because everything in life is a stepping stone. Like, okay, I got a podcast. Um, I don't have all the experience in the world, but I got something. Um, where do I want to go? So to answer your question, I've done a little bit of research. I haven't done enough to even qualify into actually jumping into something, but eventually one day I would like to have an actual radio station. Like, I don't care if it's AM, I don't care if it's FM, but I'd actually like to have a broadcast radio station. Someone that comes in does sports, someone that comes in does the weather, someone that comes in does special events, uh, the news of the day, local, whatever, nationwide, overseas, you know, touch on a little bit of everything like the actual news does. I'm not the news, but I bring information, I provide information through my guests to society, to the world, because, internet, you can be in Quebec, you can be in Italy, you can be in England, you can be in Reykjavik, Iceland, you can be in Brazil, you can be in anywhere. As long as you got the internet, you can tune in to Be Exposed Radio.
But what does it mean to you though? Like, what does it mean to have this radio station?
Skylyne Radio, or like an actual radio station?
Just Skylyne Radio. Like, what's the purpose behind it? Like, why are you so passionate about having it and then also expanding it?
That's crazy. I'm the opposite of you. I've always been the behind the scenes type of individual. I've never been one crazy about the spotlight. I've never been one crazy about popularity. It was basically, this is basically how it went down. The individual 4 years ago came to me and was like, "Hey, how would you like to have your own radio show?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll bite." And she says, "Yeah, it's easy. You can actually take over my time slot. We can put something together, have a meeting. You can meet people, and this can be my last show. And whenever you're ready, you can start your show." So I don't. I don't know how to answer that though. Again, I never thought I would, never dreamed I would be in radio. I never thought, never dreamed, never had a passion for it. But we started it and we went strong for 18 months until COVID. And, I fell in love with it. I wasn't me for a good 6 to 9 months, but that's a whole different story. But when I decided to cancel it after COVID got started, I missed it. I missed the responsibility of having a show. I missed the responsibility of speaking. I missed the opportunity, the responsibility of having guests and questioning or asking questions and interviewing and meeting. Like in the studio, you meet them, they come in, you chop it up a little bit before the show, during your commercials, you mix it up a little bit after the show, you mix it up, you exchange information, you take pictures, and I think that's what I miss the most, because through Zoom you don't have that. Everyone's schedule is crazy as all get out, unless you run in the same circle.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be crazy for both of us because you're in the DC area, I'm in the Baltimore area. You're doing 50 miles an hour in a 10-mile zone with the different projects you got going on. And I might not be doing 50, but I'm doing more than I'm supposed to be doing in a 10-mile-an-hour zone. So as far as where I see it, sky's the limit. And when I reach it, I'm gonna keep going, because there is no limit. Long as I got God on my side, there is no limit. I don't want to do just regular individual people, not saying politicians, or not that I'd go there, but you never know. Never say never, right? Because there is no such thing as never. If there's God, there's a possible way. And that's all there is to it. But like, I'd like to get into interviewing celebrities and music artists and actors and people in the United States, people in Europe, Canada, South America, Australia, the Middle East, Asia. I'd like to broadcast live at various different events, festivals. Again, sky's the limit. If there's an opportunity, I'm interested, if it makes sense, because I'm a firm believer, whether it makes sense or not. Oh, well, we're going to pay you this much money. All money ain't necessarily good money. It has to make sense. And if I don't feel as though it makes sense, or I don't feel comfortable in pursuing this opportunity, if I don't feel comfortable, I'm not even going to ask my co-host, my producer, because if I don't feel comfortable, then I'm not going to want to do it. And if I'm not going to want to do it, I'm not going to force anyone else. You know what I mean? Now, if my producer comes in and he's like, this, that, whatever, and the third, blah, 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 da, 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 and he's like, Mark, I need you. I know you don't want to do it, but I really need you. And you're the right person to do it.
Wait a minute, can we just stop right there for a minute? Because you just said, I'm just laughing on the inside, because you just came out with Chicago like real fast. Woo wop bam and a third. Like, we say that is definitely a Midwest response.
It comes out.
You just slipped in there like real fast. It just brought back some good memories. Yeah, I get what you're saying though. Like, yeah, like it became purpose for you.
Right.
And yeah,
right.
So when it became purpose for you, just like, I'm in here to see how it's gonna unfold. Now I think that's dope right there. Cause some people feel like they gotta know everything when it comes to like purpose. It's like, no, I just like it for some reason. And I'll figure out what it really means to me, but I'm gonna keep pushing and going, and I want to see it expand to this next level. And
Right.
I like that you said that, because I think that those who are, listening on tonight can be like, wow, did you just hear what Mark just said? He doesn't, it happened. He realized that when you were without it, it was just like, I miss it. It's something that navigates me to it. Like, I need it. It does something for me, you know, and I think that that's awesome. I think that as you continue to build and as you continue to expand, you know, and, you know, trust in the process, you know, of this, that you will open up doors for other people to literally have a voice, to be able to talk about like the journey, whether they're celebrities or not, or telling the news, telling things that are going on, to be able to even highlight those who really don't have, they have a voice, but not necessary to be heard in this aspect. I literally see, you know, open up even a segment of like those who are homeless, you know, to give them a voice, to be like, listen, I'm not just here because I wanted to be homeless. I'm here because a tragedy happened within the world. It just didn't happen to one person, it happened to everybody, you know, and it was by default, but this is what I learned. And then some people like who are homeless, they choose to be homeless. I had a girlfriend's uncle. I mean, their whole family like got homes, and you know, they went to get him, but he lived underneath the bridge in Chicago. But he didn't want to come live with nobody. He was like, I'm comfortable here. Rain, sleet, and snow. He outside. You know, we see the TVs that's tucked away underneath the bridges, and some people are comfortable in that environment. It gives them a sense of independence. Some people don't want to be controlled by the government. Some people want to be like, I can make it. I don't want to be controlled by this system. And sometimes it's, you know, it's their mindset. But you or Skylyne Radio gives them a voice, lets them be seen, and lets them know, like, hey, everybody don't live this way. Everybody don't live in mansions or houses. Some people live underneath the bridge. And
That's right.
sometimes underneath the bridge is the safest place for me. I don't always have everything, but who does? You know, I mean, you have people who live in houses who live in houses who can't even afford the light bill. You got some people who live in houses or have cars. They can't afford the cars. They're living off loans after loans after loans.
Yeah.
That's homelessness. Like that's being poor.
You're showboating, but you can't afford to have a life because you want to showboat. Oh, I gotta have a big house. Oh, I gotta have an $80,000 car. But you make $70,000 a year, so you're living so far above your means. Heaven forbid you have kids. They're the ones that are suffering. You know, infants, it is what it is. Little ones, it is what it is. But say after 5 or 6, no, kids want to do stuff. Kids want to go places. Kids don't want to just go to the airport. Or not the airport, the playground. Kids don't just want to go to a shopping mall. Kids want to go to the movies. Kids want to go to Dave and Buster's, Chuck E. Cheese. Kids want to do things. Eventually, them kids become teenagers. Now they're starting to find themselves. Now they're starting to figure out who they are as a young man, as a young woman, who their real friends are versus their fake friends. As we were taught when we were kids, by our parents, our peers, family, friends that we looked at as parents. If you can find one friend that can do for you unconditionally, that you do for them with no question, consider yourself lucky, because people are selfish. And let's get real. Ever since COVID, people are so selfish. It's sick. COVID did something mentally to a good proportion of society, and it's sad. You know, you'll break your neck to go to a party, but you won't donate $5 to an organization that's gonna help out someone in need. You know, I try to tell people $5, $5 can feed a family of 4. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert. Now ask me how. You know 10 people. I know 10 people. We all pitch in $5. Guess what? That's $50. You can get $50 worth of food and beverages and snacks to feed a family of four and probably have some dollars and change left over. But all you did was fork out $5. You go into the bar, you go into the restaurant, you're spending more than $5 on that drink or that plate of food.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. But like I said earlier, if people don't see purpose in it for them, they don't do it. It's not a priority.
exactly.
It's just not a priority. And I know and I know that it hurts because I understand too. I understand when I see people like, I'm here, I'm a resource, I can help you build this. And so, but they will invest their money in other things that cause them to be in a greater rut, instead of the thing or investing. They want you to sometimes coach them for free, or like I stopped doing my 15-minute like foundational call is what I called it. I stopped doing those because I would give so much in 15 minutes that they would feel like they had like months of coaching, with me. I was like, no, if you want it, first coaching call, you're paying for that first coaching call because you're going to get everything. And you decide not to come after that one, then we're not. But once I began to change the game for myself, change my mindset and how I operated, and then I started getting clients who were just like, I started getting the quality of clients that I needed. When I say that I need it, because I need results. I needed results. And some people, they might pay, but they might cop out too at the same time. Like, and for me, I'm like, that's cool, but you still owe your amount. But the one thing that I don't do, I don't chase. Thank God, I do not chase after people who don't pay. I do not, because I realize that ain't on me, that's on them. Like that's their debt. They're not in debt to me, they're in debt to themselves. So I never find myself at a place like some people say, I'll never be broke because you always owe me. Like, no, you don't owe me nothing. You don't owe me nothing. You skipped out on yourself. You did not skip out on me because I can create from nothing. Like the Lord told me, like, create from nothing and you create from me. If you have absolutely nothing, you can create from me and you'll have everything. So right. I have in so many different places built from ground up, and everything hasn't been privy to the public. But what I can say is that even earlier this year, I spent all of my business money. And I probably wouldn't have said that maybe last year because I'm like, oh, I don't know how people would, but I spent all of it earlier in this year. And I'm like, I've never been to this place. I literally used my money in a way that I had never used it before. And I'm like, it's all gone. But every time it will almost get to zero, another client will come. And I'm like, God, your word is true. Start from nothing and create from me. And then it kept going down. I would get 1 client, 2 clients, I would get 10 clients. And I'm like, okay. And then it would keep going down, right? It would keep going down. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting the money, but I gotta reinvest it. I'm getting the money, but I gotta pay bills. That's the truth of a business. Like, you gotta pay bills. And so I'm like, I gotta pay bills. I gotta pay for that. I'm like, man, I'm back down. But every time I get back down to almost zero, it's like somebody else come. And so I'm like, I get it. Keep building. You said you want this. This your dream. This not theirs. This your purpose. This not theirs. Can you keep going even when it get hard? Even when it's down at zero? Can you still show up like you got big bank? Not that you're putting on a facade, but you cannot give less of who you are because you only have a little in the bank. You know what I'm saying? You got it because you're not pouring outside of yourself. You pouring from the power of God. Don't you pouring from a different place, and that's leadership. That's being a CEO. That's real. That's been a real CEO. And I'm not saying like it's sometimes I'm like, whoo, this tough. Motivation, I'm talking about down. Motivation that I couldn't even control myself. Motivation, I'm like, and I have to be honest, like my motivation is not there. I don't feel like doing this. I don't feel like doing that. And I have to remind myself, you just gonna have to do it without feeling it. Because you still got clients. You're gonna have to do it without even knowing that, without even the excitement of purpose and this thing is unfolded. You got to keep doing it if you got to like not feel nothing.
That's right.
But stay consistent. Like consistency has no feelings. Consistency is action. Action is not based off of your feeling. Action is doing.
That's right.
It's doing. It's a verb. It's a verb. It's doing. And so I'm like, okay, my excitement, my joy, my why is not what's keeping me going. My habit of consistency and showing up allows me to keep showing up. And that's the difference. Like, I think that people should know, like, yeah, you can't always feel something. Like, I don't always feel like my children are like the best children in the world, but I still got to love them and I still got to feed them. You know, right. I got to love them. I got to feed them. You know, I got to keep going. I ain't feeling you today, but I know you still got to eat. I know that my children can be fickle. They going to change as soon as I get what I want, or I get the rest that I want. But I know that I have a responsibility, you know, and I think that we need to get that even in our lives, whether in marriage, whether on our job. Like, I didn't feel everybody when I was working for a corporation. I wasn't feeling everybody, but I had to realize, like, I ain't here for you. I'm here because I have a purpose. I ain't here for you.
That's what I try.
You know? Yeah, I let my job, you know, when I was working for a corporation, I let it fund my ministry. I brought that paycheck home. I paid my mortgage. I paid the things, and I poured back into my hard work, which is hard work. I poured back into that, you know, and I'm just like, okay, it was hard sometimes. I got paper thrown at me, called evil on the job by someone who I thought I had a great relationship with. I had the CEO, the president of the company coming in questioning me, and I'm like, they tried to put me on a $4,000 pay cut when I just started making a little bit over $30,000 a year, you know, and that's not a lot of money whatsoever, you know, when you got bills. Now, if you don't got bills, you single, you ain't really paying nothing, but okay, yeah. But when you got, I'm like, and you a $4,000 pay cut? I'm like, I trained my supervisor and I trained the administrator and they was like, the human resources was like, well, she said you're doing this. I said, you want me to tell you what the real story is? She got a personal problem with me. And and human resources was like, we sitting at the table. She was like, well, I'm going to have to micromanage you. I said, let's do this because I trained her. You can't be afraid of losing when you're winning.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Don't take something away from me. You're going to take it away from me because I am really at default. But you got to see it for your eyes. One day I got a phone call and from human resources, and human resources said, you can stop tagging me on your emails. You're no longer micromanaging. And later on that day, my supervisor, they went to her desk and walked her out of the office. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's when you know, like, you just got to focus on you regardless of what's against you. If you ride in integrity, if you ride in, no matter what they do to you, no matter what, God is riding for you. When they counted you out, God counted you in. Mm-hmm. Like, listen, like, that's it. That's all. I don't care what it looks like against you. It hurts. I mean, I got to the point, like, I know I can't quit because God's not calling me to quit. I got to do this until I get my release, because I believe that you never let go of anything until God gives you a release. And so I'm sitting there like, I'm taking all my pictures down because I know my time is coming up soon. It might be coming up 4 months, 6 months, or a year later. But I no longer can give all of my personal self to here. I got to give you my business self. I can't let you come in. You know, the Bible says to guard your heart, you know, and watch what goes into your ear gates. So I got to guard my heart. I got to protect my peace is what people say. So I'm like, don't let me come here. I'm not nesting here. I'm not making this my home. I'm doing my job because my feet is about to tread on some different waters. So I was in preparation season. And let me tell you today, this is how when you know you're valuable somewhere. I went back to that same place, that same building that I wanted to make an impact in, and I did. Guess what? It no longer even exists anymore. See, that's how it was a twin tower up to 20 floors. That thing is a parking lot now, tore down. I'm just saying. I mean, everybody be like, it wasn't because of you. No, when the word of God said, do not mess with God's anointed. Come on now. It don't even exist no more. It don't even exist. You can't hire people. The company can't treat people how they treated people, you know, and I got what I needed. I got my master's degree paid for free. I made sure that I was in school. You know, when I was there, you know, I did what I had and I served with integrity. I served in love because it was purpose for me to see them students who would come through that building so that they can become the nurses, the CNAs, and the surgical techs, and the phlebotomists that they need to be in the earth realm. And right on social media, on Facebook, I get to see them still today, thriving as RNs and thriving in their positions and homes. And I'm like, yeah. But that sometimes, and only thing that I'm saying is that some things don't exist effectively or can't exist at all without you on it. People don't even realize how valuable you can be. That's why it's important to build the best you, so you can tap into your full potential.
Say that one more time.
That's why it's important to build the best you, so that you can tap into your full potential. The late Miles Monroe said, he said that, and I've heard it quoted by many people in different ways, but Miles Monroe said, the greatest dreams are in the grave. Man, the greatest dreams are in the grave. And this is because people don't build the best them. They live focused on what people are saying instead of focusing on what God is saying about them. That there are people, y'all hear me on today, that there are people who have lived wasting or not valuing their time and have died with multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar dreams because they were focusing on not building the best them.
Focusing on the wrong thing.
On the wrong thing, or scared, or just fearful. And they told the ideas, and this just dropped in my spirit right now, like they told the ideas to people, like you said earlier, who just sat on the couch. People who weren't pushers of purpose. That's why certain people, they can't handle your big idea because they're not equipped to carry it.
That's right.
Man. Okay. We can go ahead to the next question. You know, this is my passion. This is my hard work. This is my hard work right here. You know.
Our final discussion. You know where I'm going to take it.
Let's take it.
Home.
Home.
Your big event back in the shop. December, what is it? 8th through the 11th?
8th through 11th, 4-day summit, Leadership Empowerment Summit with my organization, Women Who Lead Connect, where I am the founder of it. I'm super excited about this because it brings everything together that we do from the beginning of the year. And then we just like drop it like it's hot in December in the cold weather. So
in the cold weather of Chicago at that.
The cold weather of Chicago, you know. But and some people like, Chicago? You have an event in Chicago? Well, I lived in Chicago. I didn't really know how cold it was in Chicago. But now that I go back and visit, because Maryland, the DC area, DC is a little bit colder than Maryland, but Maryland area, it can be snowing. And then next thing you know, 2 hours later, the snow gone. And you like, why do I got on a winter coat? Why am I wearing a fur coat, right? And so, yes, Women Who Lead Connect, which is at womenwholeadconnect.com. We are having our annual leadership summit, leadership empowerment summit. Last year was called Born to Lead. This year it is called Empower. I'm bringing speakers in. I bring speakers in from all over internationally and within the United States waters, right? Bring them in to really use their voice to use their voice, expertise to help somebody else to get healed and successful. You come in, you get the opportunity to network. We are bringing some Chicago flavor this time to the Leadership Empowerment Summit. It's not your average summit. You know how you go to summits and it's just so corporate and it's leadership, but it's like sometimes we got to experience, sometimes you got to take the titles off, you know, and I'm definitely about taking those titles off. Like you need that, you know, in leadership. So we got vendors, you know, we're going to be representing businesses who are in Chicago, you know, who want to generate some extra streams of income, you know, so come in and generate some extra streams of income, shop, dance with us, laugh with us, collab with us, walk the red carpet with us. Yeah, so that's pretty much what it is going to be. 4 days. Thursday night is just pretty much a meet and greet. Sometimes the speakers want to come in and just get to know the city that they're coming to. So I wanted people to have the opportunity the day before, but just still come in and meet and greet, check in, do some check-in, just chill out. Just not a whole bunch going on day one, you know, but we're getting ready for Friday night. Friday night is free. Friday night is a free night, but it's like I should be paying for it. I should be charging for it, but I'm not. One of the things that God placed on my heart is to have a spontaneous worship. And so the Lord gave that to me, and my husband gave it to me last year, and my husband came into agreement with it. So literally what we did was, and I incorporated this into the Leadership Empowerment Summit. What we did was my husband built a stage in our backyard. We brought in a 3-part band, a guitar, a bass, and a drummer. I did some singing on stage, of course, but it was all spontaneous. I also brought in some vendors. It was free. Vending was because I wanted, the Lord did not have me to charge for it. It was like, listen, if you can bring people into an authentic space and expect nothing of them, but to give them all of me. And that's how God wanted it. So it was different, but it was like we moved. It was like we flowed. It wasn't even like the band practice on all the songs. They flow like you just let the Spirit of God just lead you in singing, lead you in vending, lead you in showing up. No expectation, just to show up. Like somebody could have showed up and just said, you know what, I'm gonna do this at the event. Like we had one young lady who came, was like, I want to do painting with the kids. We had a kid table, the kids painted. We had our trampoline out there. They were able to play, have a good time. Like everything was just free, you know, just no. But the vendors, they could charge. I mean, they could make a sale. We had a paparazzi out there. We had a women's community organization that was there who was inviting people to their, you know, cruise. But for us, we couldn't pay. Now we paid people, but we couldn't pay. So that's what Friday night is going to be like. Last year, I told the leaders, like, take your titles off. Don't come in here being doctor this. Don't come in here being the root coach, or don't come in being the motivational speaker. Come here being you, a child of God. Like when you in the presence of God, you ain't none of those things. You ain't nothing but his child. Be at his feet and let him use you. So I want people to experience that. And that's what Friday night is. I mean, it's fun. It's literally a good time. The band is like rocking. And let me tell you, I got the band that's coming in. 2 of them have been playing for me since about 2009. So this is like bringing home, like bringing family in, like who's been rocking with me for a while. I mean,
Right.
One of them been with me since 2004. I was at Chicago State University undergrad, and I needed someone to play for me. I talked to my guy Phil, and I'm like, Phil, I need somebody. I'm gonna sing this song. I'm gonna sing this song, and I need somebody to play. I don't have no band. I was in this like alpha Miss Black and Gold competition. Phil brought in a whole band from me. And from then, like Rock Solid, I'm like, I got a whole band. When I tell you I killed the show, like I killed the show. Like it was so good. And so we're bringing people like that in. We got media coming in. Like we're going to have a really good time. And so on Saturday, it's like the 4-day. Like 4-day from 5 to 10 o'clock. We got vendors. We got entertainment. We got the speakers coming to the stage. We have an awards program. I honor women in leadership. You know, so I'm going to be honoring women in humanitarianism and philanthropy, community, as a community impact. those who are trailblazers in their area. And guess what? We honored Shardell Moore. Shardell Moore was on your show. We honored her with our Power Award, So she was a recipient, and I just love her energy. So we honored her because I wanted to bring what we don't always get, only celebrities get. They get the Golden Globes, they get the Oscars, they get, the BET Award, and all of that. But what about the Women Who Lead Connect Award? What about, what about still getting your shine? What about not dying, feeling like you didn't get recognized? I want to be able to recognize women. I want to be able to recognize who they're seeing. Out here, we had Nakia Wright, who was running for Prince George's County Council. I saw her on social media and I started following her. And I'm like, listen, we want to honor you. I've been following you. We've been following you for like a whole year now. And I see what you're doing in the community. Will you accept this as an invitation so we can honor you as community impact? So I literally watch, and then I have my team to also recognize like what these women are doing. And when Nakia Wright stepped on our stage, a person who was in a political realm and going for PG County, council or whatever, when I spoke to her, you know what she said? As well known as she is, one of the things she said to me, she said, "Thank you for recognizing me." That's powerful right there. She said, "Thank you for recognizing." Somebody who I feel like was being recognized, but it was being recognized in a different way. So the award means a lot because we can be leading at the top, but we can be broken. And I'm not saying that she was broken, but I understood that the sisterhood connection, it meant something. And then, so that will be going on Saturday, and on Sunday it's called the Pour In. Now, Sunday is the Pour In. We have a little church, okay? I bring in my faith speakers on that day. I bring in my faith speakers to pour into the speakers. They poured out all weekend. They came, they've been studying their materials for months or whatever, but they're pouring out on social media to everybody because they're influencers. They're people in leadership positions in other areas of their life, or if they're not on social media like that, they're doing it in their communities. And so I bring them in to get poured into so that they can leave the summit not empty, but leave the summit full so that they can go back out and lead strong. It's life-changing, literally. So I have some returning speakers who are TEDx speakers, international speakers, who was this one young lady. She was like, "You know what, Sha'Meca?" She was like, "I'm coming and I'm paying in full for my speaker spot." She said, "Because I do all these speaking, these speaking engagements and travel all over." She said, "But honestly, you're only speaking to the other speakers." She was like, "But when I came to yours, it was different from everybody's. I met real people. Like, it made a difference. I'm not speaking to the same people, the same crowd who already feel like they got everything, but I'm speaking to somebody who need me. I'm speaking to somebody who my words can help transform their lives." Because you can't transform nobody or help to God does the transformation, but you can't help change nobody's lives who feel like their life is already together.
That's right.
You're speaking to the choir. You're speaking to the choir. Like, okay, you're an alto. I know I'm an alto. You're like, I know I'm this. Because it's rejected. Your words would really be rejected. And really, you're only speaking on these platforms so that it builds up your resume in that way. But right. So yeah, that's what it's about. We hitting up Chicago. We bringing the heat to the Windy City. We bringing the warmth. We're going to calm the wind just a little bit. So we're going to create a storm because that heat with that cold, that creates storms. But we're going to create a good storm. We're going to create a storm that's going in tornadoes or whatever, that's going to tear down the pain. That's going to tear up mediocre mindset. Like, that's what it's going to be about.
I can't wait. I'm planning on it. I'm planning on going.
Come on, let's go. Like, we gotta turn up. We gotta turn up, and I'm excited. It's gonna be different. It's not that sit down, this a lecture, and you're gonna hear. It's like, get up, move, like, shop, have a good time, laugh, take some pictures. Use those pictures to help build your brand. Use those pictures to get on that stage and build your resume. Get on that stage. I put emerging speakers on the stage. I put speakers on the stage who, when I listen to them, I do an interview with every one of the speakers individually. Everybody who gets on my stage, I built a relationship with them. I know them. Like, I know them in that moment. And sometimes in my interviews, we cry together, we laugh together. And some people, when they interview with me, I'm like, nope. I'm like, sis, you ain't got it. You got to coach with me. You want to get on the stage? You got to hone in on this. You got a good story, but I need you to own this thing. If you coach with me, or you don't have to coach with me, you get you a coach. But let me tell you, the people who you are speaking in front of, some of them are dying. And I can't let them keep dying. You got to bring life. You got to bring the fire. And I need you to bring this fire, because some people won't go to the building church, but because you are the church, they'll come to you. You got to be the church. Right. It ain't, no. Yeah. Yeah.
That's no talk.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what it's going to be about. I'm excited. Do I know how all of it is going to unfold? I don't. It's so God. It's so purposeful. I got butterflies throughout this whole thing, bringing it all together. I always got butterflies. Oh Lord, this is a lot. I got to call this person. I got to delegate responsibilities. I got to do this, and that. Some days it's just me, and some days it's a team being pulled together, you know. And of course, a lot of times it's going to be me, because I'm the visionary. I got to come up with everything and then share everything with everybody else. But I'm fully a part of every process of it. Whatever people can't do, I know how to do. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's like, I think when you're in leadership, it's just not about making money in your company. It's just not about, being the CEO. It's about knowing every part of it. So if somebody fall off, you can fall into place. Like if I got to tie somebody's shoe, Mark, I'm tying their shoe, because you're not going to trip on you're not going to trip on my stage. You're not going to look a hot mess. I'm going to make sure you look good, because if I look good, you look good. If I got to serve at your feet, I ain't just serving at your feet. I'm serving at the feet of Jesus when I tie your shoe. Like, listen, like no part is too small for me. And the only part that is too small for me is when I can decide to shrink, trying to make somebody else feel good. That part right there is too small for me. That's when I'm playing way too small.
You shrink, we got a problem, because you already a little bit.
Let me tell you, exactly. People are like, oh my goodness, like you're like a powerhouse, and you come out, but you small. Like I didn't pitch you. When I meet some of my authors for the first time, at one of my authors, she was like, you a little girl. Like I felt like you were big, and you know, when I see you, or because I usually wear the big hair. I'm in the big hair. I'm this big mouth girl, and I come in like, hey, I'm 5'3". my daughter, who's 11 years old, she's like, Mommy, my head is bigger than yours. I'm like, okay, And some people are like, yeah, I'm a small girl, and I embrace it. I embrace it. I don't be like. And sometimes I remember days when I wanted to be like this thick girl and this big butt. I remember being 14 years old, and I walked into class, and this boy checked me so well. I was sticking my butt out like, oh, I'm gonna have a big butt like all my friends. And he was like, what are you doing? I was like 14 years old, like, what are you doing? And he was like, you need to stop. I'm glad he said that, like, just be you, like, embrace it. Like, it's a talking point. People like, you skinny. How you so skinny? I get to talk about health. I get to talk about nutrition. I get to talk about, like, this is just who God designed me to be. It gives me my talking points. It gives me my light when I come into places. It allows for those who don't expect something to come out of somebody small like me. It gives them greater expectation on what God can do with little packages. You know what I'm saying? On what God can do, what God can do with extraordinary people, or people who are not even extraordinary, but people who are counted out. Even though I might count myself in, when you count me out, like what God can do with what doesn't look ordinary, what doesn't look approved by others. So I just embrace it. And I get my thick days, I get my days when I'm feeling a little, healthy looking girl, but it be my own skinny.
All right, one last time. What's going on in December?
Leadership Empowerment Summit in Chicago. You can go to womenwholeadconnect.com. Go ahead. You can chat with us on there. We can give you the information. I still got it open. Still got it open for speakers. You know, because we actually look through. Sometimes speakers come in at the last minute. And if we got a spot open, we give it to them as long as they, you know, pass the interview process. But it's December the 8th through the 11th. It's a 4-day summit. We're gonna have a good time. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Come in. We got some free nights, but don't just settle for the free nights. Come in to the ticket. The ticketed prices. I mean, the tickets are only like I think $37.50 times 2. You know, and so that covers the whole 4 days, and so it's good. And then we got virtual too. Don't let me leave that out because I got empowerment speakers that's virtual. So not only Thursday we're just doing like a meet and greet from like 6 to 9. And then when it comes to Friday night, we're doing Friday morning, we have our virtual summit. We have Altavis Pelsler who will be rocking it like she dope. So she'll be rocking it for us, being a great representative for Women Who Lead Connect. Then we're gonna come in that Friday night in person, right? So you can be all over the world, whether you know watching us virtually, and then if you want to fly in or come in Friday evening, kick it with us in person, and that's from 5 to 10 at night. And then Sunday from 12 to 3 o'clock, we got the pour in coming in. And then even for my leaders, but they don't even know yet that we're gonna do a breakfast with leaders that Sunday morning. So you know we can get up, we can eat, we can kick it. I could like have some intimate time with them. Breakfast with leaders, and then we go head over to the event space and just get poured into, all of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give your social media information so people can get in contact with you.
Yeah, if you want to get in contact with me, I mean, it's my website, it's my all my social media links is at I am Sha'Meca Latai. And it's my name exactly on there. Just take out the apostrophes and then just put at I am SHAMECA LATAI. And so my website is IamSha'MecaLatte.com. So whether on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, is all I am Sha'Meca Latte. And then you can find either other links on there. And then if you want to get tickets or find more about Women Who Lead Connect, you just go to womenwholeadconnect.com and everything is on there. So I tried to make it easy for everybody. Like if you find me on social site, you can find the rest of, my sites and links and everything like that. Yeah. So yeah, thank you, Mark, for having me.
Mika, my sister from my city. Chi-Town was definitely in the house. Shout out to my co-host Marie Starr. She was absent tonight. Shout out to my producer, Mr. Monty. Shout out to one of the other co-hosts, Mr. Nate, for giving me a shout out. Appreciate all the love. Appreciate all the support. This Sunday, don't forget, Skylyne Foundation's back at it again at Charles Plaza, 222 North Charles Street, Baltimore, Maryland. 12:30 to 3 p.m. Whether it rains or not, we're going to be there. They're calling for rain, ladies and gentlemen. We make no excuses. We do not postpone if we can prevent it. This Sunday it's a big necessary thing. We've started our annual winter coat and blanket drive for the homeless and less fortunate. If you got a coat, if you got a blanket, if you got boots, if you got scarves, gloves, mittens, snowsuits, lightly used, good condition. If you prefer to go buy something at a cheap store, that's fine too. Bag it up and drop it off. Volunteers, anyone and everyone's welcome. If you have any questions, you got my phone number. Contact me on Facebook, on Instagram, inbox me. Shout out to Derek Chase for your continued love, support, help, and assistance. Shout out to our new partners, Morgan State University Poets. I'm really looking forward to teaming up with them and working with them on our projects and possibly even their projects with their open mic night comedy show, I believe. But as soon as I meet with them Sunday and we chop it up, I'll get some information and details on what they're doing. And I will shout that out next Friday, October 28th, on our next show. That special guest will be confirmed, if not Sunday, Monday. Ladies and gentlemen, Sha'Meca, again, I love you. I thank you. I appreciate you. Shout out to you and your husband for all the good work that y'all are doing in and out of the city, in and out of Chi-Town. And God is first, always. God is fabulous. God be with you all. Continued blessings. And I look forward to working with you in the future. And I definitely look forward to the summit in Chi-Town. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for viewing. I appreciate all your support. Until next time, good night, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. Peace and blessings.